Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Let's talk about family remittances. The celebration is slated for tomorrow, but we deem it fit to start the discussion ahead to draw the attention to the necessity of family remittances and the contribution to the economy. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. Osaze Iyoha, who is an economic analyst. He joins us virtually. Glad to have you join us on Early Exchange this morning.
Yeah, glad to join you here too. Good morning.
All right. To provide a better understanding and a background to this conversation, I would like you to give us a picture of what family remittances are and the contribution to the economy. As far as the global economy, then what is the level of assessment or the level of compliance when it comes to family remittances in Africa? Talk to us.
All right. Yeah, once more, good morning. And good morning, everybody. Family remittances has formed a very major source of forex. Yeah, forex for African countries generally, because of the whole pull towards leaving the country, leaving our various countries in Africa has almost been a practice for as long as possible. I know there was a time when my state, Edo State, was known for a lot of these foreign travels. Most of our ladies and so on were traveling. So it's been same for almost every African country. And the reason why remittances are a very important source of income or a larger part of the contributory variable to the economy in Africa has been because African countries themselves have not been able to produce in-house forex sort of. So, and because these African countries are reliant on imports, so foreign exchange becomes a very, very, very important part of their economy. Yes. So for countries that are self-sustaining, like US, China, UK, so the whole talk around remittances may not be as huge as it is in Africa. But most African countries are import dependent, and the only currency used to facilitate export is forex. You cannot buy a vehicle, BMWs, for example, from Germany with your naira. You have to get dollar, which is the universal currency, So that's why remittances is important for African countries. So it has formed a sort of go-to where African countries are doing their foreign their external accounting. So yes, but I also have some reservations about how important remittances are to Africa. I think sometimes we seem to exaggerate this its importance. That's from my own assessment. But all in all, remittances has helped to account for, at least on paper, the amount of forex that African countries have leveraged on, and it has had some very huge importance. Yeah, because the main reason why most people in Africa travel is they want to subtly, quote and unquote, lift their families out of poverty. So because of this exchange rate variability, when a dollar can get to 1,000 plus naira, so people feel, oh, they travel outside the country, they send few dollars and it buys more naira from them, so they're able to take their family sort of, using the word from and tough times, poverty and so on. So remittances is just returns of money, not repatriation now, sending money from our families abroad to families at home. That's just it in short. But as your reporter rightly said in his report, because you don't have the informal means of carrying out these remittances seem to be the major source which and families abroad use different apps. Most people abroad use apps, different phone apps. So it's not captured most times by our financial accounting, the formal sector which CBN controls. So most times a lot of it is it's most of the figures we even hear does not reflect the exact amount of remittances that goes on. Yeah, but as I said, all in all, it's a source of forex. But how much that helps to shore up our foreign exchange reserves is another discussion entirely. Yeah.
All right, Peter has made that the records or the total amount of remittances to Africa or even in Nigeria is not accurate because some of it comes through the informal sector. But as of 2023, remittances, diaspora remittances to Nigeria was projected at over $20 billion, making Nigeria the largest recipient of money from the diaspora in sub-Saharan Africa. What do we have to think for that? Is it the jackpot syndrome? Looking around us, what can we say are the benefits of this remittances from family members outside the shores of Nigeria?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. If remittances, if the data shows that remittances increased significantly in 2023, then of course that's the syndrome. It's the Japa syndrome. There's really no doubt about it. I know so many people who stated then that the outcome of the election will determine their next move. There are people who just had their bags packed up and said, whatever happens, if so person wins, then they move. So I think it had a very huge impact on the Japa syndrome had a very significant increase in 2023. 2022, yeah, too, but 2023 did. But beyond that, I think another reason also was the fact that the Western countries seem to have recovered from COVID in 2020, 2021, and they seem to be on a high in 2022, 2023. But clearly, we see that most of these Western countries have started to struggle now. UK got into a recession sometime early this year. Yeah, the first quarter of the year, they officially dropped into a recession. Countries like Canada also have been struggling. Canada is struggling with their housing, their mortgage. Most resident citizens have been struggling with mortgage payments. Housing has slowed down. Even business generally has slowed down too. So most Western countries are also struggling. So I think it's had to. I was actually waiting to see the first quarter data, and it proved me right. I can see first quarter data. It showed that there was a drop in remittances by 18.6 million. Yeah, from first quarter 2023 showed that total remittances was 301.57 million. It dropped to $282.61 million, all in dollars, in first quarter 2024. So first quarter 2023, 301.57 million. First quarter 2024, 282 million, 61.61 million dollars. So you see it dropped, and it's clear. I'm sure if you have relations in UK, I'm not sure they are telling you anything different now. Housing has increased. I was watching a TV station last week. I saw Nigerian students protesting that the school was about throwing them out because they were defaulting on fees. They were even now asking that they even come back home. So, in Dubai has had issues too. So there have been economic hardship also. It's been having its fair share in the Western countries too. So in that case, it means that a person who is even struggling to survive abroad, he won't even have extra to send home. So it has affected remittances too. And that may not be unconnected to the fallout of the Ukraine war. The West seemed to overreach themselves. They felt they could Yeah, they were laying sanctions on Russia and so, but most of those sanctions backfired. It affected their gas. I know it happened during the winter when they were when the need for gas was very high. So they had to be sourcing from other alternative markets. It was just an ego fight. Yeah, you wanted, they felt they couldn't continue to buy gas from Russia. Well, if Russia is using this income from gas to fight the war in Ukraine, it was almost like they were contradicting themselves. You're talking against the war that Russia is fighting, and you're funding the war indirectly by continuing to buy gas from them. So, as I said, just an ego thing, and they decided to stop, reduce because they didn't really stop technically. And it affected them. Their governments had to be paying subsidies on gas, increasing almost all Western countries, Western nations, especially in Europe. So it affected their budget. So most of these countries went into do not some recession, some are very, very close to recession, and so on. So it has affected remittances in 2024, first quarter. I know second quarter figures will not be any better. It might even be worse. Because I know for countries specifically like UK, which represents about 50-60% of where most Nigerians have jackpot to, it's it's a struggling economy right now. And Canada is also thinking of contemplating on increasing interest rates again or reducing. As I said, the housing sector has witnessed a very major slowdown, and that's why rents has increased by over 60-70%. If an average room you would have gotten in Canada before for about $500 just about a year ago is going for about $1,200 now. So that's over 100% increase. And I'm sure if you have been following immigration news, Canada is restricting very, very seriously yeah, visa approvals. It has placed a 35-40% cuts on student visas, and it's so it shows that things are not as good. So remittances would most likely drop this year. So last year was a combination, as you said, of the Japa syndrome and a relatively better economy in Europe, but that seems to have been changing lately. Yeah.
All right. Now let's look at the theme for this year. You have digital remittances towards financial inclusion. Now, I like the fact that you live in Canada, perhaps you practice in Canada. I would like you to give us a picture of the approach to the collection of family remittances in Canada, perhaps the adoption of technology, and how Nigeria can also take advantage of that to improve the process of collection of family remittances, because you agree with me when it comes to the issue of documentation and even accountability. That's been a challenge. So how can Nigeria take advantage of the example being displayed by Canada as regards the collection of family remittances?
Yeah, the way out is technology. That's the major difference between um the Western nations and, yeah, specifically you've mentioned Canada and us in Nigeria. It's just technology. We have not leveraged on our technology enough. We've not synchronized. We've not come out with a synchronized um e-platform where we could carry out our remittances. As at now, you have a plethora of um, apps that we use. We have Lempi, there are so many apps without giving marketing to them, which most of our residents or Nigerians abroad use. So it's difficult for the first central bank to place a handle on just one app or just find a inmate. Then during the former CBN governor, he tried to introduce this e-Naira platform and other stuff that could have synchronized. Yeah, but for whatever reason, it wasn't as marketable as it was anticipated and successful rather as anticipated. And that was because of people complained of different issues with technology, system breakdown, system slowed down in processing their funds compared to these other informal apps which we use. There are some apps we use. All the apps we use. As I said, I don't want to give markets to them by calling their name, but in a free advert rather. In 3 4 minutes, you send your money and you get it. Yeah, but most time, people complained about the official apps that was being launched and that it was taking a day or two to process and so on. So I think it's technology. We have to fix our technology. CBN has to fix its official, and you know the exchange rate variability too was an issue. Even these informal apps, you see, they give you um very favorable interest rate. Yeah. So and the fluctuation, the rate at which it fluctuates is quite minimal compared to you know, you still don't have an official figure we didn't know whether we're using the BDCs, we didn't know so figure. So I think technology generally is CBN has to put its house in order and come out with a national e-platform which can be used, trusted and fast. You know, people want speed. That's what I think that's the biggest attraction to most of these other apps. So these countries which you mentioned, most of them have a single um, e-transfer app run by the or managed by their monetary authority. So it's easier for government to place a hand on, and I think it affects every other sector, even the Nigerian economy, beyond the exchange rate app, even issues like CSA approval and so on. The bottlenecks involved, the delay that has always caused a discouragement from using this government app. So, simple terms, CBN should fix this out and come with a single, reliable, fast, real-time e-platform. Yeah.
Of the digital apps that are available for transfer, we still find that many families receive remittances from other family members abroad through traditional means. Some have agents through which they do some transfer. Oh, I give you some money in naira. The person gives you the equivalent in the other currency, maybe the dollar or the euro. Why do we have this type of transfer still predominant?
Yeah. Yeah. The simple reason, as I said, is still because the official app, the official window, the official platform is still very slow. It's still slow, and I think probably because you know you are able to escape issues like charges. You know, by the time you use the official app, you expect that you have charges to be placed. But when you're using the traditional, oh, my brother is coming from Canada to Nigeria or from UK to Nigeria next week. Let me just send some money along. So you're able to avoid those charges and so on. And really, if it's I know the official window will want to scrutinize to check whether there's any terrorism, whether there's any linkage to um, yeah sponsorship of terrorism. They want to check generally, give it the normal financial regulations check. Yeah, but beyond that, as I said, the speed, I can assure you that if our monetary authorities come with a very reliable and fast app, then we'll be able to get people to key into the official apps and the official window. But for now, as I said, the unofficial app, the greatest attraction to it, at least from consensus I've had with other people, is the fact that it's fast. Yeah, 2 3 minutes, you get your transactions done, and it goes. Rather than those who have used the former platform, those have complained about speed, have complained about system breakdown. So I think it all depends on our monetary authority coming out with a reliable and fast app, as I said.
Now, the theme this year borders on digital remittances towards financial inclusion and cost reduction. Dr. Osaze, let's look at the benefits of financial inclusion for the migrants. What would that mean for them?
Yes, so financial inclusion, just like financial inclusion in the domestic setting, means that you want to get as many people into the financial sector. Yeah, those in the rural areas, those in the artisans and so on, all into just the financial, not, banking, especially in Nigeria, is seen like just for the urban populace. Yeah. So that's what financial sector inclusion is, bringing everyone, young, old, rural areas, and so on. So we would also compare that with saying that, oh, immigrants, let's also bring them into the formal sector, you know, because even in our economy, we've always complained about the fact that the informal sector in Nigeria is too large. Some people have put it at 70/30, some people have put it at 60/40, and it does not help your economy when your informal sector it's larger than your formal sector. It retards the economy because you cannot get that into the consolidated revenue fund or get that into your tax accounting. So those are the problems and it's the same problem that we are facing in the external sector too, because the problem is double faced. First is the fact that the informal sector, in terms of remittances, seems to be wider than should be, because the number of people who use the formal sector is reduced. I know the former CBN governor then tried to introduce two different programs to encourage, yeah, naira for dollar and so on, to encourage remittances, and I think it worked for a while. When people you send your naira, it was 65 naira for any dollar that you send remittance, so it helped. Then I noticed a significant increase in the official window. Though we know it was also marred by corruption, yeah. But the idea was to give 65 naira on top of every dollar that you send to. It seemed to encourage people, but the Obaze report that came out sometime last year, probe of the CBN, saw that it was also marred with corruption too. But the initiative was okay. At least it redirected remittances from the informal sector to formal sector. So I think some more innovations like that could help CBN beyond the other innovation which I talked about, which is setting up its house, setting up a very reliable e-platform with speed, reliability, no network issues, little or no downtimes on the site. Then when Nigerians know that they have that kind of platform, I think they will use it. That's one on the technology side. Then on the monetary side, I think CBN could also do some, just like when you're advertising, you're coming into the market with a new product. You do and buy one get two or something. So I think CBN could also give some perks as long as there will be no issues with transparency and Nigeria. There's a way we always want to profit from every policy that is meant to serve the right purpose. So if we could also do that, put some incentives, just like the incentive that was done during this, at least it doesn't have to be forever. Probably for the first 2 3 months, just to get in patronage, probably 30 naira for every dollar that you send, just to encourage remittances through official window, because we need to get our formal sector very, very um, yeah, very, very at par, because in almost every sector of our economy, both in the domestic, external sector, informal sector seems to be thriving. In terms of loans, credit, people are more likely to go to the informal sector to get loans than go to the formal sector. Yeah, because you go to the bank to ask for loan, they are going to ask you for collateral, they are going to ask you uh, for so many things, for just probably how much you want to take. But you go to the informal sector, you get it done in few days. So it's almost every sector of the economy has this large informal sector, and the quicker and better we close down this gap between the informal and the formal sector, the better for our economy it grows. So that's one discussion on one side, that we should sort out the technology part, then introduce some perks, just like was done in the last administration, $30 for 30 naira for a dollar or something, and just to encourage, divert people from the informal sector. For then beyond that, I think also remittances should not be seen as a major source. I think we are concentrating too much on remittance. This is a monetary issue now. Just by the way, I think we are concentrating too much on remittance. I think the government should focus more on FDI. I also read that in your report. I heard that in your report that was stated that remittances has always surpassed FDI, and that's dangerous. That's not nice for. That's not the way to grow. You can't rely on remittances. I call remittances hot money. It's like hot eba. You know how eba is. You eat it. By the time you eat it, you don't eat it in the next 5 minutes. It's gone. You don't enjoy it anymore. So that's what remittances are. There was a time when, yes, sometime 3 months ago, when exchange rates, our naira was appreciating very well. It went to as low as $900 to 900 naira to a dollar. I told a number of friends, I said, this is not going to last. I know the CBN was so sure. He said remittances. Almost any time the CBN governor sat down, he was always livid, mentioning remittances. And I said, remittances cannot take you beyond the pool. And the reason is this: families send money to their relations in Nigeria. Most times it doesn't spend an average of a week. You send money to your mom, 1,000, probably $2,000. The following day, she takes $500, goes to a car shop and buys an SUV. 2 days, 3 days later, oh, there's somebody who is supposed to do surgery. That's why the person sends money. She goes to pay for the surgery. 4 days later, you are building a story building. You need to complete it. So you call the bricklayers, call the block molders, come and mold. So in an average of 5 days, this foreign exchange, which CBN or the official figure was celebrating, because when this $10,000 who Mr. A sent to his family in Nigeria came in, it's recorded on your foreign exchange account that plus $10. So we are rejoicing, we are screaming that this forex are there. But in 3 4 days, that has vanished. It's no more available. So so you don't rely on remittances. So you counted that today, for 4 days time, that $10,000 has gone. And so your naira cannot remain the same value it was 4 days ago. Unlike FDI, foreign direct investment, which is permanent. You have an investor from US or China come to set up a factory in Nigeria. The money is flowing, it's turnover. He gets profit, he sends abroad, he buys more supplies, imputes raw materials, he continues to manufacture, gets profit again, goes out, gets buys raw material, continues. So it's the money is always coming in, coming out. But remittances is not so. Even sales of stock, sales of FPI, what we call foreign portfolio investment, is also shallow money. It doesn't also last. You have people who come to buy treasury bills, treasury certificates, foreign investors. They buy it at at the price that, of course, CBN has been raising rates recently. The treasury bills have been doing very well, probably 20-25%. So they buy it. Sure, they sell it in the secondary market in probably a month or 30 days. Then they carry their money and they run out again. So you can't too much dwell
Family
on those funds. So
remittances
this,
now, Osaze,
yeah,
is it about
yeah.
the remittance or what it is used for? Is it possible to convert the remittance or the money sent home to some investment and it becomes FDI?
But who does that? Really? I think most of the remittances we do most times, at least probably 80-90% of the time, is sent to our relations to solve one problem or the other. It's sent for them to fix one need or the other. It's sent for them to live large, to buy a bigger car, to buy a bigger house. So there are very few cases where somebody from the West is sending money to his relation to set up a business or something, except it's not. But from the much I know in economy, most times remittances are short-term funds. They are not funds that stay, that are meant for investment. And really, if there's somebody who wants to really invest, I'm not sure you are going to sit abroad and do a proper investment. There's nobody who wants to do a proper investment in Nigeria who will sit abroad and spend money now. You would obviously want to come and put your eyes on the ground and ensure that the investment is properly set up. So, except it's just small kiosk business that you want to set up. So my thinking is that most times remittances are just for to meet a need, to give your people a good life, and not so much about investment. So these, at least so theory has proved, and so experiments have also done to research.
To add to that, as a follow-up to your question, statistics provided by the United Nations states that 75% of family remittances are channeled towards immediate needs or family needs, while about 25%, goes to investment. Now that we're talking about FDI, which is foreign direct investment, what incentives should be put in place to ensure that these remittances are channels towards investment and to also attract more FDI to the nation? What will be the role of government in this?
Yeah, I think that would be more fiscal. That's fiscal policy. Government has to show trust. Has to give investors confidence to invest in the economy, because um, we're just reading just last week that the girl has sold its investment in Guinness out. So you have companies, you don't seem to see the sign that things are going to improve, because cost of doing business. I think that's the long and short of it. Investors have, there's no investor who is coming to do a proper investment that will not do feasibility studies. He's coming to do his feasibility study. He's going to look at cost of power. There's no business that you're going to do, hardcore business, that you need power. And we know what our public power is. It's probably in shambles. I was just speaking with somebody yesterday, and it was like for 3 months they've not had light in their neighborhood. So there's nobody who is coming. So he's going to calculate diesel, the cost of diesel. He's going to calculate the cost of running his generators. ShopRite left the country sometime last year, and when you read their reports on the reason why they were leaving the country, they said they had been making consistent losses for the last 1 year, and so they had to move. It takes a lot for an established business like ShopRite to leave the country, and the primary reason they gave for leaving was power, that they are spending about 40% of their operating costs on just diesel. And so those are the things that foreign investors will be looking at. Power, they'll be looking at the road network. It shows that they probably have to fix their road. They'll be looking at the foreign exchange has not helped now. So I think this is even the wrong time of FDI to come in, because 80% of these foreign investors will be repatriating profit back to their parent company. You can't stop that, because they do a group holding account. It's not a sort of thing where every subsidiary prepares its own account. No, each of the subsidiaries in the different countries will come and they will do a holding account at the headquarters. So they have to repatriate profits. Then most of their inputs, which they will use for businesses, will be imported. So if a foreigner is bringing bringing $10,000, for example, and he bought and he was able to get 1 million when he converted from dollar to naira. Yes, he was smiling. But now it's time to send to his parent company. He has made 2 million naira. So instead of getting the same $2,000 he got back, but because he now needs more naira to buy less dollars, he'll probably be getting the 2 million profit he made. He'll be able to get maybe just $1,200. So that's a huge shortage. The foreign exchange depreciation that the naira faces would not also help encourage FDI. So it's on government right now. I think government has to fix power. That's the number one, because foreign exchange will not also be fixed until you do exports, until your exports increases, because it's from exports that you show up your forex. Remittances will not show up your forex. There's really no two way about it. It won't happen. It might just happen for a few weeks, but it will never fix your forex reserve. For foreign portfolio investment will never fix your foreign exchange reserve. FDI is the only way to fix your foreign forex reserves, and not just for FDI, but your domestic production, which is not necessarily investors coming to produce in your country, but we Nigerians producing, which is also difficult because we are also facing the same challenges that the FDIs are facing too, high cost of business. So as we said, government should fix power. I think that by the time government fix power, 70% of the problem is done, because your exports will increase, and for more foreign exchange will increase, then dollar will also appreciate. So power has been the major problem. Then bottlenecks here and there. Investors have complained about um, slow down approvals of paper. So their paper spent 3 weeks, 4 weeks at one table. Government has tried so many times trying to do, but civil servants will always be what we are. So there are so many, there's a myriad of issues, but to be honest, the monetary authority has done their best. They've tweaked with the MPRO. MPRO is now somewhere around 20, 25, 26%. That's huge because in the bid to tweak your MPRO so that you attract FPI, you're also damaging your domestic economy because domestic investors need to borrow. And if you're increasing MPRO to encourage FPI, that's foreign portfolio investment. At the same time, they are making cost of borrowing for the domestic investors very difficult. So they can't also expand their business because banks are now charging 35% cost for borrowing because MPR has increased. So it means I will not be able to borrow enough. I will have to lay off workers. I will have to close off some of my shops. So the government, CBN seems to be gaining from FPI, but losing from the domestic side. So that's why you see inflation is rising because we are increasing cost of borrowing. So monetary authority has done their best. There's really nothing else than monetary. It has to be fiscal. The government has to be prudent. Corruption has to be. There has to be sincerity of power because the fixed power, it means some people will be out of business when import generators. So the political will has always been the issue. But until then, we'll continue to see because now we are not even talking about encouraging FDI. We are even more concerned about keeping the few ones that we have. So it's even difficult to now start talking of attracting FDIs to keep the few that we have. Michelin, Dunlop, these were all in Nigeria recently. Michelin and Dunlop, for example, did not go far. They are in Ghana, just 2 countries away, and from there they are importing tires, exporting tires to Nigeria. So why did they leave Nigeria to Ghana? Because Ghana has power. And so many of the other companies that left, they all went to neighboring countries. Toyota has a plant in Ghana, but we don't. Where is Volkswagen was here, Peugeot was here. They are no more here. So it just shows that we have problem with our power sector, and until we fix that, we'll just be relying on remittances and foreign portfolio investment, which are called hot money. They don't stay, so you can't do any proper accounting of foreign exchange allowance and then. Yeah.
Well, it is hoped that the issues of the power sector will be fixed so that more investments can come into Nigeria. In the meantime, in terms of diaspora remittances, in 2021, India received over $87 billion from diaspora remittance. Mexico received over $60 billion in 2023. Philippines, more than $34 billion in the same year. And in that same 2023, Nigeria received $20 billion from diaspora remittances. How can Nigeria grow remittances from families abroad? And how can their use be maximized so that the developmental impact can increase as well?
So I think the answer to that is two-pronged. Firstly, what is the proportion of Nigerians abroad to the proportion of these countries you mentioned? There are countries like India, for example. It's almost said that Canada is a branch of India. Yeah, I can say on good authority that 70 to 75% of the Canadian total population is accounted for by Indians. You go, they are almost everywhere in the country. You go to UK, it's almost the same thing. I can say it's about 70, 75%. So these people have migrated in large chunks to the West. So that's one. So the population of these countries relative to that of Nigerians in diaspora is very huge. The gap is huge. Sometimes I tell people that Nigerians, we think we are jackpotting. We are not jackpotting when you compare to other countries. So that's the number one reason that you can accrue to that. The proportion of Indians in these various countries is extremely huge. You get into a bus in Canada, 80% of the passengers in the buses are Indian. So that's one. Then two, another question to ask is what is our the value added of Nigerians who are going abroad to these Indians? India is the home of technology right now. Most of the software giants, most of the software, they're India. So so of course, the kind of your income, the quality, your income, or rather the quality of your service, the quality of your input will determine the quality of your income. Yeah, so someone who is providing skilled service, for example, will not earn as much, will earn probably two times more than someone who is providing an everyday routine service. So for example, someone who is an IT expert, web designer, so would earn probably $50 per hour. While someone who just provides normal services will be doing cleaning service. Most of without casting aspersions on any, but most of the jobs that you see our people go to do in most of these diaspora jobs are everyday jobs, cleaning and so on, $18 per hour. That's small compared to someone who is an IT expert of $50 per hour, $60 per hour. So that would also determine how much he is able to send back, because it's the way we say in our local palace. Now we don't chop the phone, I go see money return. So it's that also accounts for it. Then when you also, another point to note is that when you go to these Western countries, they are more skill offset. It's not compared to our country where there's so much um concentration on certificate. Most times they don't care about it. You see a carpenter will be earning almost two times more than what a lecturer in. Yeah, a carpenter can get as much as $45 per hour, and a lecturer will just be paid $25 per hour. So those skilled jobs are high enough. A truck driver gets almost times two of what a lecturer or a marketer gets in most of these Western countries. And most of these, you go to construction site, you see that most of these hardcore jobs like drywall painting, carpentry, excavate, what the lifts, the lifts you use in your 10, 20 car story building, others the excavators, escalators, and so on. They are done by these Indians, by these Filipinos. Yes, those are the top jobs that pay very. So I think the fact
In a
that there's a
nutshell, what you're
difference between
saying
our
is
skills.
improve the skill set if we want more revenue or more remittances.
Summarily, that's what it is. Yeah,
All right, thank you
yeah,
so much, Dr.
yeah.
Osaze Iyoha, who has joined us from Canada this morning, talking about International Day of Family Remittances. Is also an economist, and that's why he's been able to weave how they're connected, the remittances and the contribution to the economy. We thank you again for your time on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Very nice day.
That's it on Exchange today. It's a wrap. I'm Blessing Eichie. Thank you for watching. The show will continue Monday, 8 a.m. West African time. I ask that you will stay with Sook News your entire day. Be sure to follow us at Sook News on the social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, on X, and you can watch the show and other editions of Early Exchange on YouTube at Sook News TV. Have yourself a great weekend.
All right, what a way to wrap up our production for the week. Don't forget you can do a catch-up on our YouTube channel, and then the conversation continues on our social media platform. I am Femi Ayodele. Thanks for watching. Have a nice weekend.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.